Where is this gate? It makes no sense. I can't find anything in this bloody place.
My name is Adam, and on this channel we break down how airports really work, so your travel experience can be smoother, easier, and far less stressful. Now, airports are designed to move thousands of people every single day. On the surface, everything seems organized. There are signs, announcements, staff, and clear steps to follow. But for many seniors, the experience feels very different. Instead of feeling simple, airports can feel confusing, overwhelming, and sometimes even exhausting. And the important thing to understand is this: it's not just about age, and it's not just about experience. In many cases, it's about how airports are designed. From complex layouts to long walking distances, from constant noise to last-minute changes, there are multiple factors working together that can make navigation harder than it should be. And most of these things are never really explained. People often assume that if something feels confusing, it's their fault. But in reality, the environment itself plays a big role. Airports are built for efficiency, moving large numbers of people quickly, not necessarily for simplicity or comfort. That's why even experienced travelers can sometimes feel disoriented, especially in unfamiliar airports. In this video, we're going to break this down clearly. We'll look at the real reasons why airports feel confusing for seniors, what's actually happening behind the scenes, and why these challenges are more common than most people realize. Once you understand these factors, everything starts to make more sense, and navigating airports becomes a lot less stressful. Let's start with one of the biggest reasons: how airport layouts and signage are designed. Confusing layouts and poor signage. One of the biggest reasons airports feel confusing for seniors is the way they are designed. At first glance, airports may seem organized, with signs pointing in different directions and clearly labeled areas. But in reality, navigating through them can feel far more complicated than expected. Airports are built to handle large numbers of people moving in different directions at the same time. Because of this, layouts are often complex, with multiple levels, long corridors, and separate terminals connected by trains or walkways. For someone unfamiliar with the airport, this can quickly become overwhelming. For seniors, this challenge is even more noticeable. Vision changes, slower movement, and the need to process information more carefully can make it harder to quickly understand directions. Signs may be placed high above eye level, use small text, or include too much information at once. Instead of helping, they can create confusion. Another issue is inconsistency. Not all signs are designed in the same way. Some use symbols, others use text, and some combine both. This requires constant interpretation, which can slow down decision-making. In a busy environment where people are moving quickly, this can create pressure and stress. What makes this even more difficult is that airports rarely provide a simple, step-by-step path. Instead, travelers are expected to interpret signs and make decisions at each stage. For seniors, this can feel like solving a puzzle while also managing time, luggage, and surroundings. There's also the issue of distractions. Airports are filled with shops, advertisements, and moving crowds. All of these compete for attention, making it harder to focus on important information like directions or gate numbers. Many seniors only realize how challenging airport layouts can be after experiencing them firsthand. What seems straightforward in theory becomes confusing in practice, especially in unfamiliar environments. Understanding this can help explain why airports feel overwhelming. It's not just about getting from one place to another. It's about navigating a space that is designed for efficiency, not simplicity. Long walking distances and physical strain. Another major factor that makes airports feel confusing and overwhelming for seniors is the physical demand of walking long distances. Modern airports are much larger than many people expect. Getting from the entrance to the gate can involve walking through long corridors, passing multiple checkpoints, and sometimes even taking trains between terminals. For younger travelers, this may feel like a minor inconvenience, but for seniors, it can quickly become exhausting. Physical fatigue has a direct impact on how clearly we think. As energy levels drop, it becomes harder to focus, make decisions, and process information. This means that something as simple as walking long distances can actually increase confusion. For seniors, this effect is even more noticeable. Walking for extended periods can lead to tiredness, discomfort, and slower movement. When combined with carrying bags or navigating crowded areas, the effort required becomes much greater. What many people don't realize is that airports are designed with efficiency in mind, not comfort. They are built to move large numbers of passengers through different stages of travel, often requiring significant movement along the way. Another challenge is pacing. Airports don't always allow travelers to move at their own speed. There may be time pressure to reach a gate, catch a connection, or go through security. This can create a sense of urgency, which adds to both physical and mental strain. Resting areas are not always conveniently located, and finding a place to sit can require additional effort. This means that seniors may push themselves to keep moving, even when they need a break. Over time, this combination of physical effort and time pressure can make the entire experience feel overwhelming. What starts as a simple journey becomes a tiring process that affects both body and mind. Many seniors only understand this after going through it themselves. It's not just the distance, it's the impact that distance has on energy, focus, and overall comfort. And once fatigue sets in, everything else, reading signs, making decisions, and navigating the airport, becomes much harder. Constant announcements and background noise. Another major reason airports feel confusing for seniors is something many people don't think about at first: the constant noise. Airports are filled with sound. There are announcements being made over speakers, conversations happening all around, rolling suitcases, boarding calls, and background music in shops and waiting areas. All of this creates a busy and sometimes overwhelming environment. For many travelers, this is just part of the experience. But for seniors, it can make a significant difference in how easy or difficult it is to understand what's happening. As we get older, it often becomes harder to separate important sounds from background noise. This means that when an announcement is made, such as a gate change or boarding call, it may be harder to hear clearly, especially if there are multiple sounds happening at the same time. What makes this even more challenging is the way announcements are delivered. They are often brief, sometimes unclear, and not always repeated immediately. If a message is missed or not fully understood, it can lead to confusion or uncertainty about what to do next. At the same time, there is often no clear visual backup for these announcements. While screens display information, they may not always be nearby, or they may update without drawing attention. This means travelers are expected to both hear and see important information, sometimes at the same time. For seniors, this creates a situation where attention is constantly divided. You're trying to listen, look around, keep track of your belongings, and stay aware of your surroundings, all at once. This can quickly become mentally tiring. Another factor is the unpredictability of sound. Announcements can come at any moment, often interrupting what you're doing. This makes it harder to stay focused and can create a sense of constant alertness, which adds to stress over time. In quieter environments, it's easier to process information and make decisions. But in a noisy airport, everything competes for your attention. Many seniors only realize how much this affects them after experiencing it firsthand. It's not just the volume, it's the combination of different sounds, timing, and the need to interpret information quickly. Understanding this helps explain why airports can feel overwhelming. It's not just about navigation, it's also about how information is delivered. And when that information is harder to hear or process, everything else becomes more difficult as well. Gate changes and last-minute updates. Another factor that makes airports feel confusing for seniors is the frequency of gate changes and last-minute updates. At first, most travelers assume that once they check their gate, everything will stay the same. But in reality, airports are constantly adjusting schedules based on operations, delays, and logistics. This means that gates can change, sometimes with very little notice. For experienced travelers, this may be something they're used to. But for seniors, it can create uncertainty and stress. The main challenge is that gate changes often require quick action. A new gate might be in a completely different area of the airport, sometimes far from the original location. This means walking longer distances, navigating unfamiliar routes, and doing all of this within a limited amount of time. This is where confusion begins to build. First, there's the need to notice the change. This might come through an announcement, a screen update, or both. If the update is missed, a traveler may remain at the original gate without realizing anything has changed. Second, there's the need to understand where to go next. Airport maps and signs may help, but they often require quick interpretation. In a large or unfamiliar airport, this can feel overwhelming. Third, there's the pressure of time. Knowing that a flight is boarding or about to depart can create a sense of urgency. This makes it harder to think clearly and increases the chances of feeling stressed or disoriented. For seniors, all of these factors combine. Physical movement, mental processing, and time pressure are all happening at once. Another issue is that gate changes are not always communicated in a consistent way. Sometimes they are announced clearly, other times they are only updated on screens. This inconsistency means that travelers need to constantly check for updates, which can be tiring. Many seniors only realize how challenging this can be after experiencing it during a trip. What seems like a small change can quickly turn into a stressful situation. It's not just about moving from one gate to another. It's about managing multiple demands at the same time. Understanding this helps explain why gate changes feel more difficult than expected. It's not simply an inconvenience, it's a combination of timing, movement, and information that must all be handled quickly. And when those elements come together, the experience can feel much more confusing than it appears on the surface. Security procedures and time pressure. Another major reason airports feel confusing for seniors is the way security procedures are structured, and more importantly, the pressure that comes with them. Airport security is designed to move people through quickly while maintaining safety. From a system perspective, it works efficiently. But from a passenger's perspective, especially for seniors, it can feel rushed, unclear, and stressful. When you approach a security checkpoint, there are multiple steps happening at once. You're expected to remove certain items, place belongings into trays, follow instructions, and move forward without slowing down the line. All of this often happens in a fast-paced environment where other travelers are waiting behind you. For seniors, this can create immediate pressure. First, there's the need to understand what's required. Different airports, and even different lines within the same airport, may have slightly different rules. Some require shoes to be removed, others don't. Some ask for electronics to be taken out, while others allow them to remain in bags. This lack of consistency means that travelers must quickly interpret instructions in real time. Second, there's the physical aspect. Removing shoes, handling bags, lifting items into trays, and then putting everything back together on the other side requires coordination and effort. When combined with the speed of the process, this can feel overwhelming. Third, there's the mental pressure of keeping up. Security lines move continuously. There's often an unspoken expectation to move quickly and not hold others up. For seniors, this can create anxiety, especially if they need more time to complete each step. This pressure can make it harder to think clearly. Simple tasks, like remembering where you placed your belongings or what you need to do next, can become more difficult under stress. Another factor is the environment itself. Security areas are often noisy, busy, and filled with instructions being given from different directions. This adds to the challenge of understanding what's happening. Many seniors only realize how stressful this process can be after experiencing it firsthand. It's not just about following instructions, it's about doing so quickly, accurately, and under pressure. Information overload and decision fatigue. Another key reason airports feel confusing for seniors is something less visible but just as important: information overload. Airports are environments filled with constant information. Signs, screens, announcements, directions, schedules, advertisements. All of these are competing for attention at the same time. For travelers, this means that every step of the journey involves processing new information. Where is the check-in counter? Which line should I join? What does this sign mean? Is this the correct gate? Has anything changed? Each of these questions requires a decision. For seniors, this can become overwhelming because of the number of decisions that need to be made in a short period of time. This leads to something known as decision fatigue, the mental exhaustion that comes from making too many decisions in a short period. As decision fatigue builds, it becomes harder to think clearly, process information, and make confident choices. This can lead to hesitation, second-guessing, or even feeling stuck. Another factor is the way information is presented. Airport screens often display multiple flights, times, and gate numbers all at once. Signs may include several directions in one place. Announcements may contain multiple pieces of information in a short amount of time. Instead of simplifying the experience, this can make it harder to focus on what matters most. For seniors, this can create a sense of overload. There's simply too much to take in at once, and not enough time to process it comfortably. The result is a feeling of confusion, not because the information isn't there, but because there's too much of it. Another challenge is that decisions often need to be made quickly. There isn't always time to stop, think, and double-check. This adds pressure and increases the likelihood of mistakes or uncertainty. Many seniors only recognize this pattern after experiencing it during travel. What feels like confusion is often the result of too much information being presented too quickly. Understanding this can make a big difference. It shifts the perspective from "I'm not understanding this" to "there's a lot happening at once." And once you recognize that, the experience becomes easier to manage, because you understand that the challenge isn't just you, it's the environment itself. Time pressure and fear of missing flights. One of the most powerful reasons airports feel confusing for seniors is the constant sense of time pressure and the fear of missing a flight. Unlike many other environments, airports operate on strict schedules. Every step of the journey is tied to time: check-in deadlines, boarding times, security wait times, and gate closures. This creates a situation where travelers are always aware that they need to keep moving and stay on track. For seniors, this pressure can feel especially intense. Even before arriving at the airport, there's already concern about timing, when to leave home, how early to arrive, and how long each step might take. Once inside the airport, that awareness of time doesn't go away. In fact, it often increases. As you move through check-in, security, and toward your gate, there's a constant mental calculation happening. Am I on time? Do I have enough time? Am I going the right way? This ongoing awareness can make it harder to relax and focus. What makes this even more challenging is that airports are unpredictable. Security lines may be longer than expected. Gates can change. Boarding times may shift. These uncertainties make it difficult to plan with complete confidence. For seniors, this combination of time pressure and unpredictability can lead to anxiety. When we feel rushed, our ability to think clearly is reduced. Decision-making becomes harder, and small uncertainties can feel much bigger. This is where confusion often begins to build. Even simple tasks, like reading a sign or confirming a gate number, can feel more difficult when there's a sense of urgency behind them. Another factor is pacing. Airports don't always allow people to move at a comfortable speed. There's often a need to keep up with the flow of other travelers, which can create additional stress. For seniors, trying to move faster than feels comfortable can affect both physical energy and mental focus. Many travelers only realize how much time pressure affects them after going through the experience. It's not just about the clock, it's about how that constant awareness of time changes the way you think and move. Understanding this helps explain why airports can feel overwhelming. It's not simply the environment itself, It's the added pressure of time that makes everything feel more urgent, more complex, and more difficult to manage. And when that pressure is combined with all the other factors, noise, movement, information, it creates an experience that can feel far more confusing than it appears on the surface. So when you look at the full picture, it becomes clear that airports aren't just confusing by chance. From complex layouts and long walking distances to constant noise, changing information, and time pressure, these environments are designed for efficiency, not simplicity. And for seniors, that can make the experience feel much more challenging than expected. But here's the important part. Once you understand what's actually happening, everything starts to make more sense. What feels like confusion isn't just about you. It's about how the environment is designed and how many things are happening at once. And when you recognize that, it becomes easier to approach travel with more awareness, more patience, and more confidence. Small adjustments, like allowing extra time, simplifying decisions, and focusing on one step at a time, can make a big difference. If you found this helpful, consider sharing it with someone who might benefit from it. And for more insights like this, subscribe to Skyroute Secrets, where we break down travel in a way that makes it easier to understand. My name is Adam. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.